You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, how about a little buzzer beater action tonight? It's Jaden Ivey that wins it at the horn for the Detroit Pistons, 102-100 over the Toronto Raptors in front of a raucous crowd at Little Caesars Arena. But you got to love Jaden Ivey bringing the fans to their feet on that final possession and winning at the horn. Welcome into a Locked On Pistons postcast. We got a lot to get to tonight. My name is Jake Rietma. I'll be your host. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. Fired up as always to be with you. We'll go over that buzzer beater from Jaden Ivey. I thought he played a tremendous game and really a complete game. And that's exactly what JB Bickerstaff said in the postgame as well. Azar Thompson's, his debut. And of course, we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds. But this is your home for the Locked On Pistons postcast, your post-game destination, a live reaction show after Detroit Pistons games. And we thank you for making this a part of your viewing experience or your listening experience. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, on YouTube. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. Don't forget that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter, where you can have your one stop for your ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. And oh yeah, it's free. So sign up at lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Today's show is brought to you by and made possible by Game Time. That's right. Game Time making the Locked On Pistons postcast possible. Don't forget to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Is as easy as that. Speaking of easy, Jaden Ivey made it look easy on the final possession of the game, but we've got a lot to go over and how we got to that point. But the buzzer beater for Jaden Ivey gives the Pistons their 8th win of the season. They're now 8-11 on the season, but what a game for Jaden Ivey. And you look at how he was able to lead and really step into a prominent role, more prominent with Cade Cunningham, in the absence of Cade Cunningham, I should say. Not to say that he's not always a prominent part of this Pistons team. Of course he is, but with Cade out, he had to step up, and he delivered in a big way. 25 points to lead the Pistons, and he was plus 25 for the game. How about that? The 3 turnovers, 8 assists for Jaden Ivey, 5 rebounds. He was efficient, 10 of 13 from the floor, 3 of 6 from the free throw line, 2 of 4 from the long line. But overall, Jaden Ivey, just a tremendous game tonight. And when it was, the lights were the brightest, the game all came down to that one possession. He delivered with the little floater on the run off the dribble. Everyone in the arena knew he was taking that final shot, and he drilled it. The Pistons win 102-100. Now, as far as how we got to that point, I made a couple of notes. The Pistons got a couple of big stops late in that game, when Ivey, even backing up further, had that big basket to tie it up at 98 with 1:07 to play in this game. Then the Pistons get the stop. Ivey made a great pass up to Thompson, but he was unable to finish in transition. Pistons come back, get another stop, and that's when Beasley pushed it ahead to Isaiah Stewart. I like that they didn't call timeout there. They just played it out, and it worked out for an easy Isaiah Stewart jam. Scottie Barnes comes back. He scores. He was really good. He deserves his flowers as well for the Toronto Raptors. Scottie Barnes with 31 points tonight, 12 of 26 from the floor. So not quite as efficient as Jaden Ivey was in his efforts. But man, Jaden Ivey with 25 points in this one. And of course, none bigger than that final shot that gave the Pistons the win to move to 8-11 and stop a 3-game losing streak. So this is what we signed up for as Pistons fans. You're competitive, entertaining game throughout. The Pistons in their bad to the bones uniforms, which, side note for a second, I love those bad to the bones uniforms. Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll get to the comments as well. Want to hear your thoughts on Jaden Ivey, on this game as a whole, because this game had some interesting twists and turns. It got a little bit chippy there, as it always does. A couple of technical fouls early on. Malik Beasley was hot early. He really cooled off later in this game, but he had an early technical foul. JB Bickerstaff gets a tee. Like, it was just a lot going on in this game. Isaiah Stewart with the jump ball late in that game gets called for the foul. Just it's a lot of stoppages in play. But, it's one of those games where depending on what part you pinpoint, there's just a lot to unpack. And that's what the Locked On Pistons postcast is for. So you got to love that. But I would definitely, and I wore my orange shirt tonight. It's not the exact same orange as the bad to the bones uniform for the Pistons, but we got love in the background there, the Detroit Bad Boy shirt. Shout out to my grandma for that one. She got me that. She said, for my Piston shows, I need to have more Pistons memorabilia in the background. So thank you, Grandma MJ, Mary Jo Isaacson, for that. But let's get to your comments in just a second. Very curious what you think from this game as well, because again, no Cade Cunningham. Jaden Ivey steps up in a big way, but some of the other game trends that were a little bit concerning, the Pistons' inability to rebound. I mean, the Raptors had 23 offensive rebounds in this game and attempted, I mean, this is kind of staggering. They attempted 104 field goals compared to the Pistons' 76. So I know I'm box score cherry picking right now, but not often do you win a game in which the opposition shoots that many more or has that many more field goal attempts than you. I mean, it's simple. I mean, I'm breaking this down in a very, very simplistic way, but if the opposition is having that many more to score compared to you, of course, that's not always going to bode well in your favor. But in this case, the Pistons were able to overcome the offensive rebounding that they, or lack of defensive rebounding that by them, and the offensive rebounding by the Toronto Raptors. So crazy there, that stat, 23 offensive rebounds for the Raptors compared to the Pistons, who had just 6 offensive rebounds. So other notes that I kind of just jotted down, Tim Hardaway Jr., good to see him hit that big 3-pointer to tie the game at 93. I know it was a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter, but I felt like he had really been struggling as of late. But the starters for the Pistons, much, much better as far as plus or minus. And I know it's just one little stat, but Tobias Harris was plus 10 with 12 points tonight. Tim Hardaway Jr. plus 12 with 10 points. Plus 16 for Jalen Duren, plus 25 for Jaden Ivey, and Malik Beasley in the starting lineup with plus 10. Again, he struggled from the floor, though, 3 of 14 from three-point land. And I think he even made either 2 of his first 3 or certainly majority of the damage he did was early in this contest. So appreciate everybody tuning in to the live Locked On Pistons postcast after a thrilling victory. That's what makes these kind of show fun. You watch the game, you see how it ends. The Pistons win it in epic fashion, and then we get on and riff all about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. We'll get to those in just a moment. I want to talk about the Azar Thompson debut as well. That's coming up next, and then we'll wrap it up with the studs and duds. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. Your comments are next. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by Skims for Men. That's right, men's underwear, and it's time to rethink what you thought you knew about men's underwear. What are your usual complaints about underwear? They don't fit right. Maybe you sweat in them. They're not stretchy enough. That's right. When I found out about Skims, they were making underwear for men. I have to admit, it was time for me to make a change. I've been wearing the same underwear for a long, long time. And now with Skims, I found exactly what I'm looking for. As you know, you work out a lot. Yeah, boxer briefs don't always cut it. But with Skims, it's a great choice for the gym, and especially when you're done at the gym. When I tried Skims stretch boxer briefs, felt like I finally found the missing link. They give me all the movement I need for working out without feeling like I'm walking around wearing gym clothes the rest of the day. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up. I can't stand it when they ride up. We've all had that happen. Not with Skims boxer briefs. And maybe it's in my head, but I swear, since I started wearing these, my gains have improved too. That's right. You got to love that. There's also the Cotton 3 boxer brief. As dads might know, you can probably relate to this one. Underwear drawers haven't really had a good update in quite some time. I was partial to something simple, and classic when it came to your underwear. So that's why the boxer brief cotton example might be for you. All right, lots of good options. And you know what? You can shop Skims men's at skims.com/lockedonnba. That's skims.com/lockedonnba. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. That's Locked On NBA. If you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. That's also available at skims.com/lockedonnba. All right, want to get to your comments next before we dive into the Asar Thompson debut, because it left a little bit to be desired, if we're being honest. But 102-100 win for the Detroit Pistons tonight, moving to 8-11 on the season, 4-5 at home. And let's get to those comments. Appreciate everybody checking in. Can always count on Daniel Barry Sports Highlights with the yo and the Ivy fire emoji. Couldn't agree more. He was on fire tonight. You got to love it. All right, Mr. My City, big dubs, baby. Ivy has been killing it at the end of quarter buzzer beaters. Nice to see him get one to end the game. Exactly. And listen, that's the type of shot. It's the possession, and I think we can all agree that's how you play that possession out. You're either going to overtime or you're winning the game. So credit to JB Bickerstaff and this Pistons team and the coaching staff and everybody for that late game execution. Of course, it's executed because Jaden Ivey hits the shot, but there was no driving with time on the clock still, maybe a trying to get an offensive rebound or a tip in. And again, this is hindsight being 2020 because it worked out, but I do think that that's the right way to go about it in terms of a game that's tied. You make sure you get the last shot, and it's either a win for your team or you're going to overtime. And that's exactly how the Pistons played this one out, with Jaden Ivey nailing that shot to give the Pistons the win. Demetrius McNeil is up next. Iggy Azala last week, and tonight Cash Doll was at the Pistons game. I got to be honest, Demetrius, I appreciate you letting me know those, because sometimes I just I blank out with the extracurricular stuff, to be honest, with what's going on at the game. So there you go. I don't even know who half these people are. I watch a lot of sports. I don't watch a lot of anything else, to be honest. Between my radio gig and my Locked On gig, there's not enough bandwidth for everything else that's going on up there. But Demetrius goes on to say, I'm very sure that the Raptor fans are going to be sad right now. Thank you, Jaden Ivey. Indeed, they will. That's back-to-back times where these teams have played. And it was a close game the last time these two teams played, but the Pistons came away with it in that one as well. That was not too long ago. I believe that was just 9 days ago in an NBA Cup game. And indeed, it was 99-95, the final in that one. And as I pull up the box score in that one, Beasley had 20 points, Cade had 15, Ron Holland had 10, 11 for Tobias Harris, and 12 for Jalen Duren. But we don't need to revisit that box score so much. But point being, the Pistons have won both the games against the Raptors this year, with both of them being decided by just a few points. 2 in one game tonight, and then 4 their previous win. Next up, Ferlin Pathfinder. Ivy has flaws, especially on defense, but the kid knows how to win. Yeah, I think he's none of these guys are finished products. I think we can all agree with that. However, the point with Ivy, I think he recognized tonight he had to be the guy. And when he had to be the guy, you saw the kind of effort he put forth and the kind of winning plays he made. And I don't want to say he's single-handedly responsible for this win, but my goodness, Jaden Ivey willed his team to victory tonight on a night where some areas they got outplayed. I mean, we talked about the inability to rebound and defensively by the Pistons, and that doesn't fall on Jaden Ivey. In fact, I was listening to JB Bickerstaff after the game, and he said it's on everybody. Rebounding is a team thing. And so I think that certainly goes into the notes on this one when you look back and say, hey, we got to rebound better as a team. All right, Asar Thompson debut was probably on a pitch count, that whole thing. JB Bickerstaff talked briefly post-game about his debut and how he had to play some meaningful minutes down the stretch there. And I hate to put the microscope on the guy and just, dissect every single ounce when he hasn't played in such a long time. But his first game this evening for the Pistons, 16 minutes overall, 2 of 8 from the floor, 1 of 3 from three-point land, and turned it over a couple of times. If you're looking at the box score as far as what Azar Thompson did, but defensively, he's going to be a guy that can really help this team. He was -9 for the evening tonight, but it's the first game of getting his legs underneath him, getting into playing shape. And, the only way to get into playing shape is to play more. And everybody knows that basketball is that sport, the running, the jumping, changing direction, side to side, all of that. We won't get into the aerobic, anaerobic, all of that, but it is the hardest sport to get in shape for. And you just have to play more games to get in true game shape. So good to see him back in the lineup. Obviously, he's another piece for this Pistons team that will hopefully continue to contribute to those winning efforts. And although it wasn't, that debut that's back with a vengeance and making a huge splash, it was good to see him back in the lineup. Curious your thoughts on that as well. Let me know in the comments. Even though we've already taken a couple of comments, there's always time for more comments if you use that comment function on the live YouTube postcast. So that being said, let's take one more break. And when we come back, we'll have our studs and our duds as we wrap up a victorious Detroit Pistons victory over the Toronto Raptors. Yeah, victorious victory. That's usually how they are. A victorious evening for the Detroit Pistons over the Toronto Raptors, 102-100. You gotta love it. When we come back, we'll have our studs and duds to tie a bow on this one here on Locked On Sports Detroit. This episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. That's right. America's #1 sportsbook is here to help you win big this season. Get ready to tackle the NFL with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. We got Monday Night Football going on right now. You got a hunch? Go ahead and make your bets. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, like I just did, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it's all on the same page where you place your live bets, your one-stop shop for everything you need. You just got to visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of NFL. Today's episode also brought to you by Game Time. You got to download the Game Time app because it's the only ticketing app you'll need for your live events because it's simply the best. Right now, you can download the Game Time app and use our code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but here's why you use the Game Time app. How much time do I have? I could go on and on about why you use the Game Time app. It's real simple. My favorite feature, the all-in pricing feature. When you toggle this in the app, you can see the upfront cost without all the hidden fees and all the extra BS that so many other ticketing apps use. You just use that feature and voila, you see the price you're going to pay. That's the all-in pricing feature on the app. There's also the panoramic 360-degree seat views, so there's no deception. You don't want to end up like the guy on Twitter that has the obstructed view at every game he goes to. You can view your seat in the app before you buy. And oh yeah, how about the peace of mind of the lowest price guarantee? Because if you find a better price somewhere else that's not Game Time, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. And yes, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So what are you waiting for? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. The Pistons win this one on Jaden Ivey's buzzer beater, 102-100 over the Toronto Raptors in front of a crowd at LCA. You got to love that. Nice home victory. With the win, the Pistons now 8-11 on the season and 4-5 at home. So good stuff there all the way. Now, the studs and duds portion of the program, we'll start with the studs because that's more fun, and it's Jaden Ivey all the way. 25 points plus 25 from the field for the game. From the field, he was 10 of 13, 3 of 6 from the foul line, 2 of 4 from the three-point line. And overall, a really, really great performance when the Pistons had to have it. Jaden Ivey delivered, and he sent the Raptors home with the buzzer-beating win. So obviously, he's going to get a stud for the evening. Scottie Barnes did have 31 points to lead all scorers. He was really good, and especially in that second quarter, where the Pistons managed only 19 points. The Raptors had 26. And the middle quarters is where the Raptors really outplayed the Pistons, because then in the third quarter, Toronto outscored Detroit 32-24. So those middle two quarters were challenging for the Detroit Pistons tonight. My duds, I got to go with the Pistons' inability to rebound. They gave up 23 offensive rebounds to the Raptors, and that's not a winning formula for winning games in the NBA. So you continue to do that, and it might cost you when you give the opposition so many second chance opportunities. The Raptors took 104 field goal attempts. Now, they only made 41 of them, so they shot 39.4%, but you get the idea. You can't give a really good team, and at 4-14, I don't think the Raptors necessarily constitute as a really, really good team, where this could have cost them a little bit more. And so this time around, you're fortunate to escape with the win, but you continue to have a lackluster rebounding performance, it's going to be trouble. And it doesn't match up with the DNA of this team, because a lack of rebounding, and a lot of times is a lack of desire. Coaches will tell you that. And so I know they have the desire to play hard. They're gritty. They play tough. And you want to see the rebounding numbers reflect that as well. I thought the Pistons could have shot better from the foul line as well. It didn't end up costing them, but there was a stretch there where 3 consecutive times they missed the front end on a 2-point, 2 free throw shots. So they were 22 of 31 from the foul line, 71%, not abysmal, but certainly not at that level that you would like to see it by any means. So that's going to do it for me. The Pistons beat the Toronto Raptors, and it's great to see. 102-100, Jaden Ivey with the buzzer beater. As always, we appreciate you making the Locked On Pistons postcast your post-game destination. If you're new around here, you don't have to overthink it. It's really simple. After the game ends, we hop on a little postcast editions, just the post-game show. We do the same after Lions games, after Michigan football games, and after Detroit Tigers games once it's baseball season. So this is Locked On Sports Detroit. If you feel like subscribing, we certainly would appreciate that. Doesn't cost you anything. Continue to join our community as it continues to grow. But Pistons get the win tonight. We'll be back for our next Locked On Pistons postcast. And of course, the Lions playing on Thanksgiving. We'll have Locked On Lions postcast after the Thanksgiving game. And it's the week of the game, the Michigan Wolverines and Ohio State Buckeyes. So we'll have our Locked On Wolverines postcast after that game on Saturday. Woo! Busy week, but you wouldn't want it any other way, now would you? So good start to this week. Pistons win 102-100, 8-11 on the season, 4-5 at home. The upcoming schedule, well, the Pistons take on Wednesday night. They'll be on the road against the Memphis Grizzlies. So after that, they'll be off Thanksgiving, then back in action. The NBA Cup resumes for the Pistons, back to group stage play, taking on the Pacers in Indianapolis. That game tips off at 7 o'clock. So good stuff there all the way around. You absolutely love to see it. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate everybody that used the chat feature on the live postcast. That's why we do it live. We do it live. It's different than just the podcast. And shout out to Koo as well on Locked On Pistons. Can't wait to hear his reaction to this one as well. That's why you subscribe to Locked On Pistons as well. It doesn't cost you anything, and we appreciate it. Don't forget, your favorite podcast also has a newsletter. Yeah, that's right. The Locked On Pistons daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time after a victorious Detroit Pistons night against the Toronto Raptors. Jaden Ivey wins it. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.